Foxconn. It is a name that likely appears on the shipping labels of the devices you use every single day, yet it remains one of the most enigmatic and massive entities on the planet. Most people know it as the place where iPhones are made, but that description barely scratches the surface of its influence. To understand Foxconn is to understand the very DNA of modern globalization. The story of Foxconn begins with one man, Terry Gou. Born in Taiwan to parents who fled the Chinese Civil War, Gou was not a prodigy. He was an average student who started his career doing low-level factory work. But what he lacked in formal education, he made up for in relentless ambition. With a $7,500 loan from his mother, he started Hon Hai Precision Industry. His first factory was a rented shed in Tuching, staffed by 10 elderly workers who couldn't find jobs elsewhere. In the early years, Gou earned the nickname Terry the Talker. He was a salesman with almost obsessive persistence. At one point, he spent 11 straight months traveling across the United States, cold calling companies, pitching his factory, and sometimes being physically escorted out by security, only to return the next day. His first major break came in 1980. Atari, a company that makes iconic game consoles, hired his young business to manufacture joysticks for its systems. It wasn't glamorous work, but it taught Gou something critical. Scale beats brilliance if you control the process. From that moment on, Gou ran Foxconn with what many described as a warlord mentality. By 1988, Gou saw that Taiwan was becoming too small for his ambitions. He opened Foxconn's first factory in Shenzhen inside a newly created special economic zone with low taxes, minimal regulation, and an endless supply of cheap labor. This was the birth of the Foxconn model, a vertically integrated system where the company handled every part of production, from raw materials to final assembly, keeping quality high and costs impossibly low. In 1996, he pulled off a daring move. He convinced Compaq to let him build computer cases, despite never having built one. He subcontracted the job, copied the process, improved it, and soon HP and IBM were at his door. But the moment that changed everything was in 2000. A supply chain executive named Tim Cook helped Apple strike a deal with Foxconn to manufacture the iMac. Apple demanded perfection, tolerances no factory had ever achieved, designs that required inventing entirely new manufacturing techniques. Foxconn delivered, and by doing so, it became indispensable. By 2012, Foxconn was manufacturing an estimated 40% of all consumer electronics sold worldwide. Calling Foxconn's facilities factories doesn't come close to describing what they really are. The Longhua Science and Technology Park in Shenzhen, often referred to simply as Foxconn City, is a fully enclosed industrial metropolis. It covers more than 3 square kilometers. At peak capacity, it houses up to 450,000 workers. Inside the walls are dormitories, hospitals, grocery stores, and even swimming pools. Everything a worker needs to live without ever needing to leave. It is, quite literally, a city built for production. But life inside the city came at a steep cost. Multiple investigations described a work routine built around exhaustion. 12-hour shifts, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Workers discouraged from speaking on the assembly line. Bathroom breaks are limited to minutes at a time. In 2010, the world finally noticed. A series of worker suicides, 14 deaths in just 5 months, forced global attention onto Foxconn's labor practices. What shocked people most was not just the deaths, but the response. Foxconn installed suicide prevention nets around dormitory buildings. Employees were required to sign pledges promising they would not harm themselves. To critics, it felt like a solution designed for appearances, not for people. Terry Gou rejected the idea that Foxconn was a sweatshop. He pointed to the company's amenities, movie theaters, sports facilities, and cafeterias. But labor researchers painted a different picture. They described a management culture built on public shaming. Workers reprimanded in morning meetings for the smallest defects. An atmosphere of fear, speed, and silence. And the pay told its own story. By 2021, the base monthly wage was roughly $314. For a 60-hour workweek, that amounted to just over $1 per hour. After deductions for meals and dormitory housing, some workers took home less than $1 an hour. Then, in 2022, the pressure erupted again. At Foxconn's massive iPhone facility in Zhengzhou, strict COVID lockdowns trapped workers inside the complex. Protests broke out. Workers clashed with police. Some scaled fences, risking arrest just to leave. The images spread across the world, and they revealed a hard truth. China had been the engine of Foxconn's rise, but it was also becoming its greatest vulnerability, which is why Terry Gou was already looking elsewhere, toward a new crown jewel, the United States of America. In 2017, Foxconn made an announcement that stunned the United States. The company promised to build a $10 billion high-tech television manufacturing plant in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. It would create 13,000 jobs, and it came with what would have been the largest subsidy package ever offered to a foreign company in American history. The moment was pure spectacle. President Donald Trump attended the groundbreaking ceremony and called the project the eighth wonder of the world. For Foxconn, it looked like the beginning of a new American chapter. But the reality unfolded very differently. Within 2 years, the so-called Wisconsin Valley Project had begun to unravel. By 2019, only 281 workers had been hired. The massive factory plan quietly shrank into a much smaller research and development facility. Foxconn cited a simple reason: manufacturing in the United States was far more expensive than expected. By 2021, the numbers told the full story. The promised $10 billion investment was reduced to just $672 million. The job target fell from 13,000 to fewer than 1,500. Economists called it a boondoggle. Local governments were left with empty land, half-built facilities, and a very public lesson about the limits of reshoring mass manufacturing. But Foxconn didn't leave. Instead, it changed the plan. In late 2025, the company announced a renewed commitment to Wisconsin, this time not for televisions, but for artificial intelligence infrastructure. Foxconn pledged an additional $569 million to build data center-grade servers for the AI era, creating nearly 1,400 new jobs. At the same time, the company made another strategic move. It acquired a former General Motors plant in Lordstown, Ohio, entering the electric vehicle supply chain by manufacturing electric pickup trucks. Taken together, these decisions revealed something important. Foxconn was no longer chasing scale alone. It was redefining its role. The company that once dominated the world through sheer manufacturing muscle was now abandoning high-volume brawn and betting everything on becoming the brains of the future. Today, Foxconn is in the middle of a risky corporate reinvention. Inside the company, it's known as the 3+3 strategy. At its core, the idea is simple. Foxconn no longer wants to survive as a low-margin contract manufacturer. It wants to become a platform company. The first 3 represents the industries Foxconn is targeting: electric vehicles, digital health, and robotics. The second 3 represents the technologies that power them: artificial intelligence, semiconductors, next-generation communications. Together, Foxconn describes this vision as 3+3 = infinity, a way of saying that when these industries and technologies combine, they create entirely new markets. Not just factories, but smart manufacturing. Not just cars, but smart electric vehicles. Not just buildings, but smart cities. The most aggressive push is happening in electric vehicles. Foxconn doesn't want to build its own car brand. Instead, it wants to become the Android of the EV industry. To do that, it created the MIH platform, short for Mobility in Harmony. Think of MIH as a set of standardized Lego blocks. A shared foundation that allows companies to design electric vehicles without spending billions of dollars or years of research and development. Using this approach, Foxconn has already unveiled multiple vehicles, including the Model C crossover and the Model T electric bus. At the same time, Foxconn is moving up the technology stack. In late 2025, Foxconn announced a massive expansion into artificial intelligence infrastructure. They are building Taiwan's largest GPU cluster and its first supercomputing center using the advanced NVIDIA platform. This supercomputing center, accelerated by 10,000 NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, will be among the first of its kind in Asia. Foxconn has also partnered with OpenAI to co-design and develop multiple generations of AI data center racks to be manufactured at Foxconn's U.S. facilities. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, stated that this partnership is a step toward ensuring the core technologies of the AI era are built in America. This shift is working financially. In 2024, Foxconn's annual revenue reached a record $208 billion. In the third quarter of 2025 alone, their AI server rack shipments grew by 300% quarter-on-quarter. They now anticipate their AI server market share will rise above 40% by 2026. The company is also doubling down on sustainability, pledging to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. They have already achieved a 51% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions compared to their 2020 baseline and plan to use 100% green power in all plants by 2040. Foxconn is a company built on contradictions. It is the silent engine of the modern world, a $208 billion empire that manufactures the devices we use to work, play, and communicate every day. It has been described as a ruthless, almost mafia-like management machine, and at the same time, it has been named a Clarivate Top 100 Global Innovator 8 years in a row. Today, the era of Terry Gou, the so-called Warlord, is fading into history. Under new chairman Young Liu, Foxconn is making a single, high-stakes bet that it can evolve from brawn to brain. From a company once defined by assembly lines into one that builds artificial intelligence infrastructure, healthcare robotics, and the digital foundations of future cities. Foxconn is no longer content with building other people's ideas. It wants to become a sovereign provider of intelligence itself. And whether Foxconn is remembered as a tech plantation of the past or the architect of a smart and automated future, one truth remains unavoidable. Our digital lives are built on its back. And as Foxconn pivots toward AI and electric vehicles, it is once again quietly shaping the future of global technology. Think of Foxconn as the world's most powerful stage crew. For decades, they stayed behind the curtain, building the sets, moving the lights, and making sure stars like Apple and Amazon could shine under the spotlight. But now, the crew wants more than to move the furniture. They've written their own script. They've built robots to play the roles, and they're stepping onto the stage as lead actors in the AI revolution. The only question left is this: will the audience ever be able to forget what happened backstage?